Hello everybody from beautiful San Diego, California. This is Cal State Fullerton Media Relations Director Mike Greenlee here with former Titan All-American Justin Turner. Red, thanks for taking the time to sit down and chat with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
This is your third year at the big league level, but it's really your first in terms of spending some serious time on the field. How are you enjoying the ride, and how is it playing in such a huge baseball market like New York now?
You know, it's been kind of a crazy year for me. You know, going into spring training with high hopes to a break camp with the team, and getting sent down was a pretty devastating day after having a fairly decent spring. But you know, Terry's been good to me. He told me when he called me in the office, you know, to stay ready. I'll be the first one up if something were to happen. And fortunately for me, I got that phone call sooner rather than later, and came up and was kind of in a role-playing position, platooning with Daniel Murphy at second base. And unfortunately for the New York Mets, we had some big-time injuries this year, and but it ended up being beneficial to me to, you know, get out there and get an opportunity to play every day, and I've been enjoying it every moment of it so far. So.
Now, getting to the majors hasn't necessarily been a cakewalk for you. You've been with 3 organizations in 6 years since leaving Cal State Fullerton. Talk about your path in the minors a little bit.
Well, you know, my junior year in 2005, I was drafted by the Yankees and ended up not signing, declined, wanted to come back to school, and a big part of that was talking with my teammate Danny Dorn. He turned down a significant amount of money to come back for our senior year, and we both talked about, you know, wanting to get back to Omaha after the obviously disappointing season in 2005, getting beat by Arizona State in the Super Regional. So I guess I want to say that was the start to my professional career, was actually turning it down. And then the next year, you know, went out and ended up getting drafted by the Reds in the 7th round, and went to rookie ball, had a great season, had a pretty good short stint with the Reds. I think in the 3 seasons I was there, went to the Fall League in 2008, and had a good enough Fall League to be included in a trade to the Baltimore Orioles for Ramon Hernandez, which was pretty beneficial to my career. I was kind of caught in a logjam of infielders over there with the Reds, even though it was a great organization, and got over the Orioles and got my first invite to big league camp, and later on that year in September I got my first call up, so extremely grateful of the Orioles for giving me that opportunity. And then last year, started the year with them, was up and down, then got designated by them. And probably the best thing that's ever happened to me was getting claimed by the New York Mets. And I guess that's the reason I'm here today. So.
And it had to be pretty cool having former Titan teammates Danny Dorn with the Reds and then Blake Davis with the Orioles to share some of your early on minor league experiences with, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was huge being drafted with Danny. And like I said, you know, we both kind of declined our being drafted our junior year, and he was with the Rays and I was by the Yankees, and it's funny how it worked out. We both got drafted by the Reds the next year, so, and that was huge. It was tough being away. You know, your first experience in pro ball, you're away, you're living on your own. It's a little bit different than the college setting, and it was huge. It made a big difference having Danny there with me for the 3 years that I was with the Reds, and it was a pleasure playing with him. And then the craziness, I get traded to the Orioles. Blake Davis is with them, get to play with him. And also former Titan recruit Scotty Moore was there too, who had signed to go to Fullerton, one of my good friends. So I've been pretty lucky as far as being out there, getting to play with guys I know pretty well, and it makes the transition a lot easier.
Is there any pressure or awkwardness between you and Blake, 2 middle infielders fighting for promotions at the same time?
No, I don't think so. You know, neither one of us are that kind of personality. We both really enjoy the game and having fun. And you know, I'm a Blake Davis fan, and just as much as I'm sure he's a Justin Turner fan. So, and some more irony, you know, I get claimed over here, and now he's playing second base for the Orioles. So, I'm happy for him. He's doing awesome, and hopefully he's got a long career up there.
Now reflect a little bit on your Major League debut. Take us through how you found out, how you got the call, and then the experiences leading up to that debut in historic Fenway Park.
Yeah, we were finishing up our season in AAA. I was in Norfolk. We were on the road playing Durham, the affiliate of the Rays, and it was the last day. I get called in the office, and our manager, Gary Allenson, you know, had a plane ticket for me to go to Boston. And I knew I had a good year. I had a feeling there was a chance I'd get called up, but you never know until it actually happens in this game. It's kind of crazy. So when I got called in the office, I had a million things going through my head. So much excitement. First thing I did was go and call my parents. They've been a huge part of every step of the way for me. Always there, always supporting, always coming out. As you guys, as I'm sure a lot of Titan fans know, they're always around. So that was a pretty special phone call for me, and they were excited. As soon as they found out, they booked their plane tickets, and it was off to Fenway. And well, I mean, what an amazing place to make your debut and have your first major league experience in such a storied ballpark. It was unbelievable. I got to pinch hit in the 8th inning against Clay Buchholz that night, and I tell you, I was shaking so much I could barely hold the bat up in the box, but it was something I'll never forget.
Let's shift gears and go back to your days in Fullerton. Overall, a pretty dominant group of guys that you played with. The teams that you played with won a national championship, made 3 trips to the College World Series, almost a 4th. You were outs away, and then produced 10 major league players from 2003 to 2006. What kind of impression did your days in Fullerton leave on you?
I mean, being a Titan was crucial for my career. Coming out of high school, Cal State Fullerton was actually one of the only schools that recruited me. So I was extremely, fortunate and blessed to have that from them, and getting there and playing under Coach Horton and playing under, Vanderhook and guys like Jason Gill. I really learned how to play the game of baseball. From the biggest things, hitting and fielding ground balls, all the way down to the small details. And I think that's kind of what separates Fullerton baseball from most schools is the amount of details they put into things, and really making sure guys understand the game of baseball and know the game of baseball. So I can honestly say there's no way I'd be where I am today if I didn't have Cal State Fullerton.
Now, your time with the Titans didn't start in 2003. I personally remember a skinny, quiet, red-headed kid with glasses that used to hang out with me by the ball bag in the dugout in 1997. What kind of impression did being a Titan bat boy leave on you?
It was awesome. I mean, getting to be in the dugout, being around you guys, being on the field with you guys was unbelievable. And basically what it did for me was create this huge dream, to one day wear a Titan uniform and play for the Titans. And, most kids dream about playing in the major leagues. At that point, all I wanted to do was be a Titan and play at Cal State Fullerton. So, that's an experience I'll never forget. The crazy thing is, I'm out here. I played against Reed Johnson, Aaron Rowan, and Mark Kotze this year, and all of them are like, "Man, I'm getting old. You were bat boying when I was in college, and now I'm on the same field as you." So. It's really pretty neat.
Now, you grew up a stone's throw from Long Beach State. What got you to the bat boy position at Cal State Fullerton? I mean, you had an in at Long Beach State, right there.
I had an in at Cal State Fullerton. Rick Vanderhook. Rick and my dad have a pretty long relationship. They went to high school together. They grew up together in Lakewood, and he set that up for me to bat boy at Fullerton. And like I said, from the first day I stepped foot in the dugout, I'm pretty sure I was going to camps even before I was bat boying there. So I grew up a Titan my whole life. Long Beach State was there, but I've always had that hatred for them, because they're the rival. No one from Fullerton likes Long Beach, and I grew up a Fullerton fan. So
there was no need for recruiting you. You were already
no
there.
need. I got a letter. I don't even know if I filled it out.
Now, the nation got to know you in the 2003 College World Series when you were hit in the face by a pitch trying to sacrifice bunt. I don't know if that was a career-defining moment for you, but people got to see the kind of baseball player you would become when you later returned to the dugout. How did that incident shape your Titan career?
Kind of defined it for some people. Still to this day, I get people coming up to me asking me if I was the guy that got hit in the face. And, I remember that day going and going to the hospital after I got hit, and I think I went in and we were up 5-1 at the time. And when I came out after getting all my MRIs and CAT scans and X-rays done, It was a tie game, 5-5, and I was just asking, what happened? What's going on? You know, and all I wanted to do was get back in the dugout and be there with my teammates and you know, support them and be there for them. So, you know, even to this day, I mean, I get a hard time from these guys here about how much I get banged up, hit by pitches, slid into at second base. The trainers tell me I'm leading the league in entries in the computer in the training room, but you know, that's always been part of my game, and that's why I'm here. You know, I've been able to stay on the field, play through some stuff, and if I wasn't that way, then I probably wouldn't be sitting here today.
Tell us the story. How did that injury lead you to change your hair color?
Oh man, that summer when I came back home, you know, I was pretty recognized in Fullerton. You know, everyone was asking me, "Oh, did it hurt?" You know, I kept getting the same questions over and over and over again. And one day, I was actually working a Titan camp, and I think we went to Taco Bell for lunch one day, and I had a huge group of people coming up to me, asking me for autographs, asking me all these questions. So it was to a point I couldn't even get lunch in Fullerton, and finally I was like, man, I wonder if I dyed my hair black, if people would recognize me, you know, because the red hair is obviously a pretty big signature of mine. So went home, had my cousin get some hair dye for me. She dyed my hair, and not only did I almost get kicked out of my house by my dad, but my cousin wasn't too high on his list either.
Now, I've always sensed that defense has been something you take a lot of pride in. When did you realize that it was an important part of the game, and who was it that was responsible for teaching you that?
You know, when I was 4 years old, I'd go on vacations with my grandpa Bates, and he'd make me catch 50 balls in a row, tennis balls, before he let me eat dinner. So playing catch was instilled in me from an early age. Growing up, I've never been a big power guy or had the prettiest swing. I was kind of more of a scrappy hitter, but you know, being able to catch the ball was something I took a lot of pride in and something I excelled at. So still to this day, when anyone asks me what's my favorite part about playing, is defense. I love playing defense. I love being able to make plays and change games and pick up pitchers and do that. And you know, I can go 4 for 4 in a game and make an error, and I'll be, you know, pretty tough on myself about making that error, because you know, my job is to be out there and be there for the pitchers and make sure they don't have to throw any extra pitches. So it's one thing that I definitely take more pride in anything in is my defense.
Now, what sticks with you more, the national championship in 2004 or the bitter loss to ASU in 2005?
Oh man. The loss was tough, but I'll definitely remember more of the championship in 04. I mean, that season that we had was unbelievable. You know, being 15 and 16 before going into conference, and really buying into each other as a team and sticking together, and the run we kind of put together, and then to top it all off, you know, beat Texas twice in the finals, who, you know, were #1 in the nation, and put a pretty good beating on us earlier in the year. It's something I'll never forget.
Now, talk about playing second base. I mean, you played second base most of your career. You've played a little shortstop, but a lot of focus goes on the shortstop. Talk about second base and what it means to you.
You know, some people might think it's a little bit easier position or whatever, but if you ask any shortstop what's harder, to turn a double play from second or short, I think all of them will tell you from second, because you know, you don't have the luxury of seeing the runner coming at you and stuff like that, and that's something I take pride in, is turning a double play and try to be the best at it as I possibly can be, and I hang in there for guys. I take a little bit of beating for it, but you know, always trying to get that second out. So it doesn't matter for me, you know, where I am on the field. I'm more comfortable at second base than anywhere, but I just want to be in the lineup and be able to help the team win, you know.
Are there things to this day that you learned at Cal State Fullerton that you're using on a daily basis?
Absolutely. I mean, everything I do started at Cal State Fullerton. Obviously, there's little adjustments being made here and there from different coaches here, but my whole game, everything I've learned, everything I know about baseball, for the most part, you know, was from Cal State Fullerton, from Horton, from Hookie, you know, from Jason Gill. So,
talk about those coaches for a little bit. I mean, you've Coach Horton was there a long time as a player, then an assistant or associate head coach, and then a head coach, and then also Coach Vanderhook was there a very long time, and then is now the head coach. Talk about what they mean to you personally.
Well, I mean, Coach Horton was awesome. You know, I was with him for 4 years, and when I talk about the details and that aspect of the game, I'm sure he's forgotten more about baseball than I'll ever know already at this point. And you know, I have a great respect for him, and I think he has the same respect for me. I still stay in touch with him. He's actually had me up in Oregon to work out with some of his guys the first year of their program, and you know, he's obviously someone in my life that I owe a lot to for where I am today. And the same goes for Hookie, you know. Like I said, he's the one who got me into the Fullerton program from a little kid, and I still talk to him all the time. He's actually going to be down here tonight for the game. He's bringing his son RJ, and you know, they're just great baseball minds. They know the game. They've been around it so much and experienced so much, and it's nice to get to talk to them. You know, when things get going tough, even up here, you know, it's nice to talk to those guys and for them to reassure me and tell me, you know, hey, you're a big leaguer right now. What are you worried about? You know, just go out and play the game and have fun. And you know, I'm very grateful to those guys.
And who were your biggest baseball influences growing up?
Number one was my dad. You know, he coached me all the way up until my freshman year of high school, and then he coached some travel ball teams while I was in high school. And I mean, to this day, he's still on me all the time. I can go 4 for 4, and he'll find something that I didn't do good enough. So he's always pushing me, always trying to make me better, and you know, I love him to death. We kind of butt heads sometimes, but you know, he's a big reason why I'm sitting here today.
Who was your favorite baseball player growing up?
You know, I never really had a favorite guy. You know, I like college baseball more than I like Major League Baseball. So, you know, being around guys, you know, watching Reed Johnson and Kase and Aaron Rowan and Dave Bacani, you know, watching them play at Fullerton was more than I needed. So.
Who was the toughest big league pitcher you've faced so far?
Felix Hernandez, hands down.
Who was the toughest college pitcher you ever faced?
That's a good question. Probably Weaver. Probably Jeff Weaver.
Have you run across any of your baseball idols, or have you been starstruck by seeing someone around the park?
I don't really get starstruck. I'm a pretty loose guy. I have a pretty good sense of humor, and I try to, you know, joke around with guys like that. As far as running into idols and stuff, you know, like I said, got to play against Reed and Aaron and Kate, which is to me cooler than, you know, playing against anyone else, because, like I said, I watched those guys growing up. Those were my idols growing up at Fullerton. I got the bat boy for them, so that's probably the most special thing so far.
Is the movie Bull Durham a legitimate representation of the minor leagues?
Yeah, it's pretty close, I'd say. I mean, that stadium's not actually the stadium in Durham, but yeah, it's a grind, man.
Before this year, had you ever hit 2 home runs in a game, not involving a computer or wiffle ball?
Yeah, I actually did it last year in Buffalo when I was in AAA with the Mets. So.
And then lastly, who's your favorite all-time Titan?
Favorite all-time Titan? Man, I don't know. Jason Windsor almost single-handedly won us a World Series, so he'd be a tough guy not to have on that list. But you know, I gotta go back to Reed and Kase and Rowan, just from watching them play, watching how hard they played the game. really kind of set the bar for me as a player. You know, if I'm not playing hard, I feel like I'm disappointing those guys. So.
All right, Red, thanks so much for sitting down with us. Let's call this part one. We'll catch up with you in a few years.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks.